Hello. Get these thoughts and I feel like I have to share them. I need your input. I need you to tell me what you think. But what I want to talk about is intelligence and the lack of it in the testing of intelligence. And the people who create those tests, they're very limited, and there's no way that these tests are not subjective in some way, shape, or form. IQ tests will follow you all your life. There was a famous Nobel Prize winner known as Richard Feynman, who, according to the experts when he was younger, he only scored 125 on his IQ, which means he wasn't worthy. He was just brilliant. He wasn't a genius. That wasn't true. He was a very, very tough guy, Richard Feynman. He would have taken that test and left halfway through it, like I did one time. And he had contempt for that test because he knew what he could do. And he won a Nobel Prize in quantum physics, I believe. No field in science could be more challenging than theoretical physics, okay? So they were wrong. They were dead wrong about him. Now let's talk about intelligence, okay? It comes down to how you keep score sometimes. Personally, I don't feel like we are on this planet to earn. I think we are on this planet and in this life and in these bodies to learn. To learn, not to earn. And this is what I've written, and you can, do a close-up on it later to see the machinations of a strange mind. My first number one is Einstein in the Outback. Now, what is my point here? And I've always told this to people. If you put Einstein in the Outback, he's going to look like an idiot. He is. He won't know how to get water. He won't know how to get food. He won't know which plants he can eat. He doesn't know how to read the stars. He's a dummy. In the Outback, Einstein is a dummy. So your intelligence is relative. In my mind, it's relative to your situation, where you are, what you are doing, what is this about. How do you take score of your success in the Outback? By what you have gotten to eat, by living another day, by surviving a storm, by finding some food. But all this has to do with your adaptability to where you are and what your situation is. That could be defined as intelligence. So Einstein in the Outback should teach you something. It's a matter of perspective. And my number two is the Temple Grandin phenomena. Temple Grandin, I met her. She has a microscope. She was tickled pink. We gave her one. It's wonderful. And she stayed with that microscope for the longest time, would not leave it, which is fascinating. Now, when I'm talking about Temple Grandin, somebody who has severe learning disabilities, how do you measure their intelligence and score if you're using this bricklayer test you put together from subjective information that somebody decided was whether or not you're smart? They will see it on this test. Temple Grandin would have failed that test. Richard Feynman didn't do that well on the test. I did well on the test, but that's irrelevant. I happen to know what the answers to the questions they were asking me. Sometimes it's a matter of chance, and your whole future shouldn't be based on a matter of chance. They don't know how to measure intelligence, okay? Because I believe it's relative to the task. And if you happen to be the best piano tuner in the land, that's intelligence. You can make the argument that taking a three-point shot from on the basketball court requires a specialized form of intelligence. Your brain has to act like a computer. It has to calculate the distance, the arc required, the amount of force required, the angle, everything. That's a form of intelligence. Where do you draw the line and decide? Who decides what intelligence is? If they tell you that your kid isn't smart, you can't put any faith in that. How did they decide that? If your instincts tell you that they have special talents, that they have special abilities, find out what that is. Let them try everything. Encourage them to try everything. That's what I do naturally. That's what I teach. It's called, autodidact is one way of putting it. A polymath is another, but I study things until I've learned them inside out, and I go to something else and study it. And this is the way my mind works, and this is what I'm able to teach. Now, number three here is savants. and uncanny inborn knowledge. This is a very mysterious field. How this works, how they're able to have such high intelligence. They can be, some of these guys, some of these people with savant capability can tell you, you can name a date and they'll tell you what day of the week it was. And how do they do that? People who are born, what about these kids who are born with the ability to play Chopin on a piano, where they have knowledge they shouldn't have? How do we explain that? We are to be inspired by love and guided by knowledge. The knowledge part is, how do we explain these things that so far science has not explained? Now, science is the one making up the IQ test, so science is stuck, okay? We're back to that brick factory again. And I want to talk about the ghost of Albert Einstein. Now, when I was a kid, Albert Einstein was a superstar, okay? People followed him around, he was 80 years old, they wanted to have his baby. It was terrible, okay? So Einstein was everything. And the E equals MC squared, which the average person has no idea what that means, and it's not even that complicated. All it means is that mass is tremendously compacted energy, and that if you were able to release that energy, it would change things dramatically. And in this case, it was a weapon of war, because anything we discover, we try to make a weapon of war out of it. Okay, that's part of my next thing my last thing I want to say. But because of Einstein, we all decided we needed to learn algebra, and to this day, they are still forcing algebra down kids' throats. And that was the only subject I didn't do well in. And do you know why? Because they wanted me to do it their way. All right, so let's march in line. Let's do exactly what you say. I will be a good little robot and do it step by step. And I would try to jump ahead and figure out the answer by using logic, and you can't do that. See, algebra to me was a curse. Okay, and because of Albert Einstein, it became the news of the day, and from that point on, we became Albert Einstein, little making Alberts. Thou shalt doeth algebra. Get rid of it. It's unnecessary. Nobody but who uses it? If they're not going to use it, don't make them take it. They only have so many brain cells. Let's let them learn something good. And so the last thing I want to tell you, by the way, knowledge can be really, really wrong. I mean, there once was this guy who drove around in a truck giving lobotomies to people. Did you know that? He did like 5, 6 lobotomies a day. People would pay him cash, and that really happened, okay? What they think, today's medical breakthrough may be tomorrow's comedy routine, okay? The last thing I want to talk about, we know what an IQ, you know what IQ means? Intelligence quotient. Whereas quotient is a cute way of saying number, and they have to have, this is how they bedazzle people with nomenclature, okay? Words for things. I want to talk about what I call the MQ, not the IQ, the MQ, the malevolent quotient. If somebody is smart, does that make him a better person? That's really a question. There's a separate question. If somebody is smart, what do they use it for? What are they doing with it? How are they manipulating people? Are they a narcissist and the world revolves around them? They have no sense of the past, no sense of the future. Everything is now and everything is them. That is a malevolent quotient. Malevolent quotient, okay? We need to start with being guided by love, being inspired by love, and guided by knowledge, but it starts with love. It starts, and I think it starts with gratitude. To me, gratitude is just so important. So, they don't really know how to measure intelligence. I don't care what they tell you. It's just too complicated. It's just another attempt to overly simplify something that's tremendously complicated. No fall for it. Use your instincts. And expose your child to everything you can just to see what clicks, and go with that.
What about the parents with children who have learning disabilities? Should they be scared of the school system, like dyslexia or any type of learning disability?
Having known them personally, just people with dyslexia, they didn't do well in school. They really didn't. When they're younger, I would homeschool them. There's a lot of people out there who are going to school who need what I am proposing here, because they're not being taught anything. But for somebody with a learning disability, this is absolutely the way to go. You are the best guide for that. And your passion and your love for that child has to be translated into results. And starts with I like to think of being always curious, okay? Tempora curiosum, I think, is the Latin for it. Being always curious and being able to instill that in them, curiosity.
So for homeschooling parents, what's other forms of intelligence that you would want them to teach your children? So not what are other forms of intelligence you should instill in your children?
They should know everything from history. They really do, and that's a very delicate subject. To how to produce their own food, to how to cook, to how to sew. They need to know every skill, every life skill they possibly can, because something will click.
Yeah.
It's amazing. People, I believe, are born with abilities they have yet to discover until someone shows them, like a potter's wheel, and suddenly, my God, look at that. They know how to use a potter's wheel. Someone introduces them to a piano, and for some reason, they're able to pick out that melody. And if that piano's not there, that potter's wheel is not there, if that whatever it is you're introducing them to is not there, then how are they going to experience it and know what they like? They're blank slates. You have as many things around them that you can, that they can identify with, that can show some innate ability. For regardless of the reason how that ability got there, they have hidden abilities, and your job is to find them, because the teacher didn't have the time to do that. And besides, the teachers I had in school were incredible. I doubt that they would be teaching. They think they would be the heads of major corporations. They were brilliant, they were gifted, God bless them, and but I don't think it's like that anymore. None of it's like that anymore. They had autonomy back then. They don't have it now. They don't have it now. You can give them, what you are is autonomy. That's what you're offering them, to go their own way and find out what they like. You're the facilitator. Okay, you're the one who takes them down the road and say, well, do you like that? Do you like that? Tell me, what do you think of that?
So is that the essence of homeschooling right there?
Yeah, expose them to everything you can possibly think of.
Yeah.
And see what clicks. Watch them. Look at them. What do they respond to? What lights them up, okay? Is the sky blue? Why is the sky blue? Albert Einstein wanted to know. Right there, they had a thinker. And why is the sky blue? It's the color of air. What's the color of water? It's amazing how much blue there is on this planet. It's such a beautiful planet. Don't you think we should keep it that way? That's when I wrote a song about that. I'll have to show you what that is later. But thank you for taking the time to listen to me and realize that you know more about that kid than anybody else does. Okay, don't let them tell you anything based on some tests that made by less than intelligent people. Thank you.